came up on the line producing side of the business, which is the financial sort of production logistics side, and Glenn came up on the directing side of the business. And so when we came together as a company, not only on the Tony Awards, but on other shows, that's sort of our background. But we both sort of cross over. He asks people financial questions now, and I say, well, how are we going to shoot that? And, we both look at logos and creative. We both approve the set together. And
I think the tough job, frankly, is for the voters and the nominators to select the best out of things that are very different. Chocolate and vanilla are both really good flavors of ice cream, and you're asking someone to sit down and rule what's best. It's very subjective, and everyone has their own opinions. Well, take that into what we do too. We're trying to capsulize the entire Broadway season. We're trying to appeal to our community, which is very important to us, but we're also trying to appeal to people beyond the Hudson River. And we really want the rest of America to leave the Tonys saying, hey, I want to go to New York and see a show. This is exciting. Theater is exciting. The day the nominations come out, which is 3.5 weeks before the show, everything, every preconception, everything that we thought the show might be, does definitely take on new shape.
Probably the hardest choices is time. People forget that, 3 hours sounds like a lot of time on paper when you look at it in TV Guide. But 3 hours is really only about 2 hours and change when you take out all the commercials. And then when you have to do 17 or 18 awards, which are givens, it's the Tony Awards, that leaves X amount of time for performances. And if you have 8 shows nominated and you want to do something else, time is a big balancing act for us. The interesting part about the job, though, is, we've done the Daytime Emmys in the past, which is you give out awards and there's, not a lot of performance. We've done the Super Bowl with Prince where you deal with one performer and do what you can. Here we're dealing with 8, 9 different big productions, all of whom have successful, creative, powerful producers, choreographers, directors, unbelievably talented cast that are doing this every night, 8 nights a week, 8 times a week. And so we get to interact with them and try and tell them what'll work best for television. But still, they know their show better than we do. So there's that balancing act of this works every night, but this will work a little better for television. And most of their numbers are a little longer than we'd like. So how do you cut it so it's artistically? So there's a lot of working together. And I feel we've been, not embraced by the Broadway community, but had a great time working with them. Just to pat ourselves on the back a little, we won the Emmy 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember, but. In the speech, basically, we thank the Broadway community because the show is them. They show up with hundreds of cast members and directors, and, we don't have a show unless they have their great shows. Glenn's in the truck, and I'm backstage, and we talk over a headset of how long do we let him go? Wow, this is some speech. We really can't cut him off. But if we don't cut him off, we're going to be a minute over. And there have been times we've been 3 minutes over, an hour into the show, and, you got to make it up later. So the speeches are our biggest night of show, what do we do sort of thing. Because everything else, we pretty much know how long it'll last.
But we also make it clear ahead of time when we speak to each one of the nominees individually that when you're going long and you mention our names, we won't cut you off. So basically, all they have to do is put out there one of our names, and they basically could go on forever. So
from 7 to 8, we give out awards. And we use those in the 8 to 11 broadcast. So as we do those 7 to 8 awards, just for fun, in case we had 30 seconds to catch our breath, we're actually editing that package as we go. Even after 8, we're still editing that package while we're on the air. So there's all that going back on, backstage with an edit room set up and all that.
One of the most fascinating things for people not involved in the actual production of the show, one of the most fascinating things, when you watch this hopefully seamless 3-hour broadcast of all these major performances on, the logistics involved, which you don't realize, are that each one of these casts, and sometimes the casts are as much as 30, 40 people, each one of these casts go to their theater and get into wardrobe in their theater. Because Radio City Music Hall, we couldn't possibly change that many people backstage. So literally, each cast will go to their theater, get in costume, in wardrobe, and be bussed over to Radio City at the appropriate time. Meanwhile, the cast that just performed is getting on their bus to go back to their theater to get out of costume. And because we rehearse the show in the morning and then do the show at night, there's actually these shuttles going around town to theaters, to Radio City, to theaters, to Radio City.
And actually, to add one more level of complexity to that is some of those people are nominated. And so when we do a rundown, we need to look at, okay, if that person's performing, and where is their award fall in relation to this performance? And I think the two closest calls we had, well, one before we did the show together was when Kirshner won for Charlie Brown. She performed, and her award was the next award because there was no way around it that year. I mean, there's just no way. And she didn't want to, if she won, except in her Charlie Brown dress. And we set up a quick change backstage, and in, I think, like 2 minutes or less, she changed, came out and won. We would entertain the live audience at Radio City even while we were at commercial. So luckily that first year we had Hugh Jackman, so that covered like 3 or 4 commercials because he would just go out there literally and talk to people. I think he sang one song or something, and he would entertain them. And then we decided that we needed to do more. So we show old commercials to people, from Carrie, the musical from years ago. Last year we had Seth Rudetsky on tape, sort of not making fun of the Tonys, but having fun at the Tonys' expense, past broadcasts and things like that. So while we're doing all this looking ahead, we actually are still doing a show for the live audience.